Okay, we're going to move on to drawing the nose and the mouth area. We're not going to be drawing this beard, it was just, I just thought you had quite a nice pronounced nose and mouth. So we're going to use this picture to as our reference today. So we've looked at the eyes, but we're now going to look at just the shape of the nose here, and just understanding the nose generally. It's one of, I would say, it's possibly the hardest feature for many people to draw. I think because it comes out from the face, so you don't know how much of this area between the top of the nose and the bottom of the nose to draw. Often people are tempted to draw this area with a sharp line here and here, which can actually flatten the nose. Suggestion is the best thing when drawing the nose. It's what you don't draw rather than what you do draw. So again, I think the easiest medium to get a kind of flowing and also tonal qualities of looking at the shadow and understanding the form of the nose is using charcoal. Charcoal's so flexible. Pen and pencil. Pencil you can erase right enough, but pen, it's so permanent. Wait until you're a bit more confident about drawing the features before you kind of move on to a more permanent line. So we'll do the nose on this side here, and then we'll do the mouth separately here. So this area here is often where I start. I'll start in this kind of nostril area. Again, the way that we hold our charcoal is really important. We're not holding it, pointing it down, or you get a very sharp line, and it's harder to move your arm about. I like to move my hand around to describe. Why do that there? If you can do it with your hand, you get a much more open, natural line. So make sure you're not too tight in your grip. Take your shoes off. That really helps for me. It really grounds you on the earth. It makes you connect with everything much, much more than if you're wearing shoes. It just, for me, is a huge tip. So I'm going to start in here. I'm not going to worry too much. Again, I'm using that the gentle kind of, almost like a sproing shape. It's like that oval connecting to ovals, like almost like cartoon smoke type thing. I'm using that kind of approach, and I'm drawing that area in here. And then I'm bringing the line down. I'm sweeping it back up, and I'm closing it off again. So I'm kind of doing this shape, going that way, bringing it down, and then bringing it back up. And I'm doing it the same in the opposite direction. So it's a really, really subtle shape, actually. Don't over describe the nostril area, the depth in here too much, and don't go too dark at first. Keep it very, very soft. You've got an area of shadow down here as well, so soft lines, and there. And then we're going to close the nose off just by creating a little line here, a little bit of shadow, just to describe this area of shadow here, and likewise a little bit of shadow here. And to start off when you're drawing a nose, that's a really, really good starting point. Stop for a minute. Keep checking, check the width of your nose here, the proportion, relative, your nostril relative to this middle bit, relative to this bit. But essentially, it's a shape almost like a kind of is it mistletoe? It's that kind of a leaf shape. It comes down in the middle and it comes back up, and then these shadows you can bring up with your finger. But if you draw them too much with in a linear fashion, it can just be a little bit too sharp as well. You want to show that it's curving back. And then you might want to put a little bit of shadow up here where the top of that nostril ends here. See, there's just a little bit more shadow here. And again, soften it with your finger. Likewise at this side. And it's just an impression, as so. Now you might want to bring a bit more shadow under the nose here, but what I like to do at this point is just to seal that so that I can add tone across the top without messing up those features that I'm quite happy with. So I'm just going to give that a little spray and give it a moment. And that way we're going to bring in some of the shadow in here. Now you can see, because the light's coming pretty much from all directions because it's an outdoor shot, so there's light here, there's light there, and it's casting shadow mainly underneath the nose there. So just take time just to kind of have a look at where your shadows are. There's a bit more shadow on this side of the nose, but we're just gonna, we might do like a tiniest smudge there, and then we bring in shadow at the top again, and that just shows us there and there that this is where the nose ends at the top of the face. So by drawing these shadows and that shadows, it's almost like the negative space lesson that you learned before. You're kind of drawing around it. You're creating a form. It's like a sculptural way of working, rather than going for the lines of everything, because that can really flatten it. So it's probably pretty dry by now. So we can do that a few different ways. We can do it with a bit of ink, like a light wash, or we can just use our charcoal again and just very gently just describe over the top that there's shadow here. You can see the shadow kind of curves here. So we might just want to, and we're just doing some light diagonal lines at this point. And we're never just looking at this, we're looking back and forth. Sometimes it's easier to almost look and draw without looking at the page, you know. The more time spent looking at the page, the better. We're creating a bit of shadow in here. It comes up through, up to this kind of rounded part of the nose here. And we're going to stop here. We might just put a little bit more shadow under there, because he's got a beard that you can't actually see that bit. And then we're going to soften it in with our fingers. And it's created form. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to leave that as is. I mean, you could create a tone first and then, you know, use this to kind of carve out the white. You can start with that mid-tone. That's another nice, I actually like working that way, and I will show you how to work that way in future tutorials. It's creating a mid-tone first and then working into the shadow with this and lifting the mid-tone to reveal the highlight. That's another quite sculptural way of working. This is a bit simpler. So I'm quite happy with this part. I'm just going to draw the eye up to these corners here. So proportion, this is another thing that people often find really, really difficult, is knowing how long in the face the nose should be. Often it's too long or it's too high. So take a reference point. So you might bring in a tool for this as well. If you measure the width here, that's the width of the nose, and then take it from that base point. You've got 1 and that much. Okay, so you might do 1 and that much, and then you can kind of mark, that's roughly this point here. You might do a wee line. Make sure you, if you do a line, that it's removable, even a wee pencil line. That's basically to this point here. So you've got your line up the middle here, which gives you the central point of the face. Once you do this enough, you don't need these lines, but it can really help you at first. And then the width of this part here, if you bring it down, it's just wider than the points of, than this midpoint of the nose here. So if you bring that line up, go into about here and here. Okay, so that's a rough guide. So we're going to create a soft hollowed out, again just we're using line work wise, we're using that kind of rounded style, and we're going to create a little bit of shadow in here just to show the hollow. I don't want that to be a sharp line, because it's not a sharp line when we look at it. It goes from highlight to mid-tone to shadow, and likewise we're going in this area as well. And that just creates that impression that it's coming out here, like that, from the sockets of the eye and out. And then you can add your eye, and you can obviously go down to the mouth from here. We might as well add it in because we've got enough space. So another measurement that is worth working out and really analysing is this area from here down to your mouth. I tend to work out where this middle crease line, this central crease line is from here, and then I'll add the lips from there, if you know what I mean, rather than working to the top lip. So if you take the width of the nose, we know it's less. If we can take any kind of measurement from the face. You can even take like from the nostrils there. It's normally round about the same. Yeah, so round about that. So from that part of the nostril to the base of the nostril, we've got a measurement there, and then from the base of the central part of the nose to the crevice of the mouth, to where the mouth parts, it's about the same. So we're going to take that measurement and mark it. You can do that in, you can take any measurement from the face, just, your nearest bit. Generally, the width of the nose is round about the same in most faces, is round about the same as the kind of whole part of the eye in here, like the eye sockety area, like from this point to the widest point, from the narrowest point to the widest point of the eye. It's normally round about the same as the width of the nose, and then the mouth is normally a little bit more. Often the mouth is the same measurement as from the inside point to the hairline from a front on shot. So there's really mathematical ways of working it out, and everybody's face is different, so it's worth just asking those questions, unless you want an exaggerated version, and you might exaggerate the nose and make it bigger. So we've got this line here, we've plotted it, and we're just going to take this line very, very gently. Now he has quite a kind of flat crease in his mouth. Often people have got a slightly more, I'll show you here, a slightly more exaggerated, it's like a seagull in flight, and then that would be the, some people have got more that kind of shape, you know, it's a really pronounced mouth crease. He doesn't really, it's quite flat, but there is movement in there, you know, it's, run your finger along it, you'll see it does go up and down a little bit. So you might want to describe that. It kind of comes up and then it goes down and then it stops here. And I always mark that with a little spot. It comes out and down like that. And then I mark roughly where the shadow under the lip is, here. And with a man, you don't want to, with a male face, you don't want to spend too much time on the lips, describing the lips, or it starts looking a bit more feminine. But you might just plot that that's kind of shade this line a little bit. And obviously when you look at the lips, you'll notice that this part under here is normally the top lip, in this area near the crease in the top lip is darker than the bottom lip. That's where the light. So yeah, so we're just gonna spend a little bit of time describing the shadow here, this upper lip. And you can, if you want, you can take a bit of a line in here. I often use kind of almost like similar to eyelashes to describe some of these lines that you see, the creases in the lips. But don't overdo it, and bring it from the crease out, not from the lip line in, if you know what I mean. Take it from the darkest point up. But really, again, it's more about an impression rather than a suggestion, rather than spelling it out. And you can always fix that and then go back into it, create a bit of a tone, and then use your eraser to bring out some of the highlights on the lip here as well. So that's another quite nice way of doing it. And then go back over it, keep strengthening the darkest point. As you work into features, it softens the darkest point, and that's often the bit that just needs to be reiterated again and again, and then keep softening it. So it's a suggestion of a lip more than anything else. And you might want to, if you're feeling confident, facial hair is really tricky, but again, it's about keeping a soft hand and making an impression, and again going back into it and bringing a little bit of suggestion back into that too. So I'm going to create a bit of a lip line here. So yeah, so we've done facial hair and everything. That's advanced. Again, you might want to just fix that, give it a moment, keep building it up. So have fun.